Connecticut man is accused of a cross-country scheme targeting DoorDash drivers in California. Stanford police tell CBS 2's Tony Aiello it delivered nearly $1 million.
The investigation started with a report of a domestic dispute involving a gun at this Stanford apartment building.
We were searching the apartment for the firearm and noticed several stacks of loose cash around the apartment, about 100 payment cards not in the suspect's name or in the victim's name, and a couple of fake IDs.
Investigator Vanessa Lynn says cops eventually found more than $700,000 stuffed in various lockboxes.
Tonight, the former Stanford man who's accused of stealing almost $1 million in an elaborate scam was shot to death in New York. This came right before he was due in court in Stanford for a potential resolution in that case.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Hookah Anonymous _. You guys been telling us to create one for the longest, so we recently created a community where we will upload videos that we can't share on YouTube due to their guidelines. We'll also be dropping the latest to there first, behind the scenes information that you wouldn't find anywhere else on our socials. So make sure you become a member, and after you do that, head over to our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _ and follow us there. Now without further ado, let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, a young man who thought of a genius way to do the wrong thing have outsmarted a multi-billion-dollar company and scammed them out of almost $1 million. Who would have thought that a young man that at the time was only 18 years old would be able to come up with a scheme to acquire so much money through a scam that went undetected even by law enforcement? In fact, the scheme was so elaborate that the only reason he was caught was due to a separate incident stemming from a domestic dispute between a young man and his girlfriend, which ultimately led police to be tipped off about the scheme upon further investigation into the domestic dispute. Most kids at his age with almost $1 million will be out having the time of their life, but instead, this 22-year-old had it all tucked away in small safes, totaling up to the amount that has been reportedly stolen from DoorDash. Now, to be honest with y'all, usually when police catch a suspect for scamming or someone obtaining money illegally, the amount that they report isn't always accurate. You have to think about the money that was taken before law enforcement knew what was going on that went unnoticed, and then you have some crooked officers that may say a certain amount that was taken, when in reality, they pinched a little off the top for themselves before reporting how much was actually seized. I'm not saying that's the case here, but just letting it be known that it's a possibility that happens more often than we think. Now, in a tragic turn of events, before the young suspect was able to face his consequences in the court of law for his elaborate DoorDash scheme, he would be shot and unalived in what law enforcement believes was due to a robbery by people that he knew. Now, the whole thing is a crazy turn of events, as a young man went from making hundreds of thousands of dollars to getting busted and having to fight a whole case to now being shot and unalived, all in a matter of months. This is an example of how fast life could change in a minute, where we must all be aware of these situations that could pop up and change our lives at any given moment. We're going to get into the story of the 22-year-old David Smith, but before we do, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm, and if you're not subscribed to the platform already, make sure you do so now. Let's get into it. 21-year-old David Smith was from Connecticut and thought of an outlandish scheme to scam DoorDash employees out in California. He was a teen when he started the scheme that netted him almost $1 million, fooling DoorDash drivers into giving up their information, leading him to reap the fruits of their hard labor. According to investigations, Smith will place orders on DoorDash in California, and whatever DoorDash driver accepted that order will become a victim. This is because whenever you place a DoorDash order, you're able to get the driver's information for safety and communication reasoning, in which their phone numbers are included. The genius part will come in on Smith's behalf, because with him having their phone number and knowing that they have a current order to attend to, he would then use phishing hacking tactics to send fake text messages to the drivers who appeared to look like it came straight from DoorDash themselves. The message would simply state that there was something wrong with the current order that they were delivering, prompting them to go to a fake DoorDash support link that encouraged them to put their DoorDash driver credentials into a fake login. The driver will unknowingly do it, thinking that he or she is resolving the issue, and as soon as they entered their information, it was compromised by Sh0t. Sh0t would then take the information and log into the accounts that he just got access to, and then change the banking information attached to the account to a new account that he had control of, now leaving the funds made from the driver to go to him instead. The accounts he used were untraceable because he would use other people's information to open up a bunch of debit accounts attached to payment cards so he could steal the driver's direct deposits. According to his arrest warrant, the scheme started back in 2020 when Sh0t was just 18 years old. Who knows how he was able to get away with this without it being caught sooner, or maybe the fact that in 2020 the world was on lockdown, so it went undetected because it was bigger things people were worried about at the time when people weren't working in the offices. On the flip side of that, DoorDash, along with other public serving apps such as Amazon or Uber, were at an all-time high due to everyone being stuck in the house and not wanting to come out, in fear of them catching anything. They say from 2020 to 2021, DoorDash's revenue topped pandemic record, becoming the largest food delivery company by market share in the US by generating a whopping $4.89 billion in 2021 alone, which was a 69% increase from the previous year of 2020. Amazon had a humongous share in 2021 as well, as they generated $108.5 billion in just the first 3 months of 2021 alone, and they would finish 2021 off with $469.8 billion in total revenue. So with all this money flying around, you know the scammers were trying to get a cut, and David Sh0t was certainly one of them. Law enforcement believed that about 700 drivers lost money to the scheme and stated that they would likely get partial of the money back in restitution. Investigators say Sh0t thought that the distance between him and the drivers in California would make it more complicated to trace back to him. And although law enforcement would make it seem like it wasn't, I would say that it kind of was, because they themselves weren't able to catch it. What led to the actual seizing of the large amount of cash and investigation was a domestic dispute between Sh0t and his girlfriend that also involved a firearm. On January 5th, 2023, Stanford police was dispatched to Sh0t's Prospect Street apartment after receiving a domestic dispute call where they were alerted that a firearm was present in the apartment. Police would begin searching the apartment, and they didn't only just find a 9mm firearm, they stumbled upon something else even more alarming. During the search, they would find more than $50,000 just laying around the apartment randomly, over 100 payment cards that wasn't in the suspect or the victim's name, along with a bunch of fake IDs and several cell phones. This would raise suspicion, but it didn't just stop there. Things would get even more interesting when 5 lockboxes would be found, which contained over $700,000. At this point, law enforcement knew they were onto something and arrested Sh0t for the firearm, charging him with third-degree assault of a pregnant person, risk of injury to a minor, second-degree strangulation, and disorderly conduct, while his girlfriend was taken to the hospital. Law enforcement began doing their investigation to find out where all the money was coming from after reporting their findings to the Financial Crimes Unit. That's when they would put everything together and realize that Sh0t was running the elaborate DoorDash scheme, taking money from drivers in California, stealing over 75 people's identities, and opening up over 100 debit card accounts where he transferred stolen money. Sh0t was ultimately charged with first-degree larceny, first-degree computer crime, second-degree forgery, third-degree identity theft and illegal trafficking, and personal identification information. Now in November, Sh0t appeared in court where he turned down an offer from prosecutors to serve 5 years in prison for his connection to the case. Sh0t was given another court date scheduled for January, but unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to make this one. This is because Sh0t would be gunned down January 6, 2025, just 2 days before he was set to appear in State Superior Court. It's unknown whether he was going to reject or take the plea deal during his court date, but according to his attorney Frank Riccio, he may have even been considering taking the plea deal. The attorney will also state that Smith was a quiet young man and was shocked to learn that his client would pass away. According to reports, New Rochelle police says officers responded to the Heritage Homes complex around 10:50 a.m. on Monday, January 6, 2025. When they arrived, they found Smith shot several times in his chest, and they believe that the suspects knew Smith, claiming that it may have been over a personal dispute. 4 suspects have been captured, with 3 being charged with M and the 4th suspect being charged with weapon offenses. 21-year-old Marquise Williamson of Newark, New Jersey, 21-year-old Amari O'Neill of Mount Vernon, 20-year-old Anthony Webster of Mount Vernon, and 21-year-old Ali Muhammad of Mount Vernon. Williamson and O'Neill were both charged with second-degree M. Webster was charged with second-degree criminal possession of a weapon and third-degree criminal possession of a weapon, and Muhammad was charged with second-degree M and second-degree criminal possession of a weapon as well. Due to the help of community members, they were able to get descriptions of the people running away from the scene, who police would later identify as those suspects. Muhammad was taken into custody days later, 2 were arrested on the scene, and another one was arrested seeking medical treatment in the Bronx for a gunshot wound to his hand. Reports say Williamson and O'Neill allegedly grabbed and brought Smith to the ground, while Muhammad shot David multiple times. Webster, the 4th suspect, held a firearm to Smith's head, while the others stole Smith's credit cards and keys. New Rochelle police spokesperson, Captain J. Collins Coyne, states that the dispute was more than likely over money and the victim knew the suspects. As of now, the investigation is ongoing. Smith had just moved out to Mount Vernon after he was arrested for the DoorDash scam in Connecticut, which is why he was in Mount Vernon and all the suspects were somehow associated with the area. Now, as for Smith, the charges against him in the DoorDash scheme will be dismissed on March 3, 2025, stated by the Assistant State's Attorney Margaret Muscati. As for the $733,000 in cash seized, she says a decision will be made on what happens with it. However, it's not definite that all of the money will go back to the DoorDash victims, which is pretty crazy. They know the money was stolen, they have the money, and they can identify the suspects that were targeted, so why wouldn't they give back all of the money? But anyway, as for Smith, it's unfortunate what happened to him, and it seemed like he was targeted by his peers to be robbed. I feel personally that he may have been the subject of a robbery attempt, and maybe he fought back, and when he did, he was shot in the process. This is why they always say, watch the company that you keep. Some people may be jealous, envious, and you just never know. If they took his car keys and credit cards, maybe they were trying to get in his apartment, thinking that there would be money in there like the last time. However, the process didn't go as planned, and Smith was shot and unalived, unfortunately. Now, like I said earlier, it's crazy how the turn of events transpired before Smith lost his life. He made a bunch of money, then got arrested, then unalived, all in a small period of time. And the crazy part of it all is, if he probably didn't get in trouble over the domestic dispute, then maybe he would still be here today, or avoided at least the jail time. Because the only reason they found out what he was doing was because of that one incident. So it's pretty ironic. Y'all jump in the comments and let me know what y'all think about this. Rest in peace to David Smith, and condolences to his family. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. And I'm out.